from the flood?
No.
No, right. So we talk about unity. So as a segue to sustainability, you can't be sustainable unless you're unified with something. The first thing you want to be unified with, indigenous people, would be the land. Right? So then that would be something to discuss. Coming up with these little points, but that would be something to discuss, right? We want to talk about our unification and segue to sustainability, right? So then, what is sustainability? Brother elocution.
Sustenance.
Sustenance.
The ability to have sustenance. Maintain it. You gotta maintain.
SUB.
I'm totally spelling this wrong. I spelled it from here. I know it's horribly spelled. Sustenance.
SUB.
SUB? Substance. There we go.
STI.
There we go.
STA.
Substance. There we go. So substance. So the ability to sustain. But what is sustaining?
Maintain.
Stabilized.
Stabilize.
Foundation.
Foundation. Right. So we're building a foundation for
To
what?
support.
Right. Foundation. So it would be important when we talk about sustainability is talking about mutual or community support. Right? So
The ability to sustain a nation or culture.
right, so it's community support, support, sustaining nation or culture. So they would say that part of our culture would be to sustain within nature, stabilize what we have today. Is that something that we're doing? We're all here trying to do this, I know for myself, because life in the white man's world is very chaotic. There's not much stability for our people in the so-called white man's world. So it becomes important for us to sustain. Now, I know one thing about sustainability is that it's self-perpetuating. That means that once we start, we should not have to be having.
It goes to perpetuity.
Right. We can keep on going. We can keep on. This is something that our posterity, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will be able to participate in this. They'll be able to start this, so that would be sustainability, right?
Our own ecosystem.
What I looked up says it's a Latin derivative of the word sustiere, which means to hold and keep.
Hold and keep. Hold. To have and to and keep. Okay. So, if we talk about sustainability, meaning to hold and to keep. So what are we holding and keeping? What does it mean to hold?
Ourselves. We're keeping and holding, we're sustaining, we're maintaining, we're competently capable of being interdependent or dependent upon ourselves. That ecology, that circle of life.
Interdependency. Meaning that Brother Lewis has a mine and he mines copper, I make jewelry. Right? So in order for me to do what I do, I need it. Right? Sister Dorita is a farmer, and Sister Darlene is a baker. Right? So we need each other. Right? So the things that we do all connect. Right? So it goes back to the interconnection and stability. Right? That this doesn't exist without this. So, keeping. What does keeping mean? Because you can keep something away from something, and you can keep something for something, right?
Right.
Keep something for myself, I can keep it away from you. Those are two different activities. So which one are we presenting?
Preserve it.
Preserve.
Preserve and reserve. So we're here to protect. Just as Brother Ibisi said, in the mission, we're here to protect and to uphold and sustain.
Balance.
Right. Keep in balance. Stability. Right.
Okay, now put that all together.
Got that.
Now that you broke it apart.
That's right.
So maybe.
You got that. So we've deconstructed this. So what is sustainability? Well, the focus of IMN and its sustainable movement is to first stabilize the environment in the metropolitan areas in which the group lives, or with the areas which have become metropolitan, right? The indigenous territories that have become metropolitan. So our first thing is to stabilize our community.
That's right.
So then the projects that we all have are geared towards doing that. We also have to stabilize our own lives in order to do that. Right? We find stability through interdependency. Right? Interdependency is simply community support, which sustains our nation and our culture. And that's self-perpetuating for our posterity. Does that work? Now you know someone's gonna have to change my very cryptic communication or something. But we'll get there. Okay, so what was the next one? What is trust? Let's start with what is it to trust? What is it to trust someone? What does it mean to trust?
Believe. Have faith.
Be lie. Trust. Well, as Brother Wall Street said earlier, we got two of these. We got two of these in the middle of the word, inside the word trust. Right? I just did something, y'all know what I'm talking about. I took two T's and I made two grand crosses with the two T's. But what is it to trust? Right? If you have this connection to the material world, right? And we talk about trust, and what does the trust do? The trust is protection of material goods. Right? But what does it mean to trust someone?
Faith.
Faith. Fa. I.
Confidence.
Fa is heart.
Confidence.
Fa. So already be fa.
Confidence.
Confidence. Confidence. To confide. Right? So confiding has to do with holding. I confided in Brother Shep to keep my secret. And he held my secret in confidence. Right? I confided in this trust to hold my property. And it kept my property in trust.
Etymology.com says,
You gotta shout them out. Just shout them
Go
out.
ahead, give it to them.
belief used to mean trust in God, while faith meant loyalty to a person based on promise or duty, a sense of preserved in keep of one's faith, in good or bad faith, and in common usage of faithful or faithlessness.
Is that what it is?
No, this is etymology.com.
That's etymology.com, and that is the etymology of the word trust.
Yes. And it's based on belief.
based on belief. So then belief is connected to the divine, or the fact that we know that there's something divine out there, even though we don't see what's going on. So we be, or in a state of, lie in the beginning. Huh?
When you did your breakdown explanation, I took out believe and moved it to know.
To knowing? I know, brother, Shep ain't gonna lose my house. Alright, to knowing. Okay, so we had this trust, right? And let's get a real simple definition. Let's get the legal definition of trust. What's the legal? Is it in here, brother Shep?
Yeah.
It's in this one? How do I find it?
Yeah.
I don't want to go through your computer.
It's cool. It should be already up or something. Hold on, let me pause this.
Trust me, y'all.
No, we know you'll be right.
Right.
We know you better be right back. Okay. We got infra. R. 18, 19.
What dictionary is that?
Fourth edition.
Striking. 19.
PRS. Damn, I gotta go to the T. What am I
8
doing?
more pages. There you go.
Trust.
There you go. 5 more pages to get you the trust. There you go. Should be coming up. Treat. Trial. New trial. Trial certificate. Tributary. Troy. Yeah, go on.
There it is.
The longest definition in the book. Go down. We got
True bill, true.
Trust
Starting
in general. A right of property, real or personal. That should go in there too. A right of property, real or personal, held by one party for the benefit of another. A right of property, real or personal, held by one party for the. We are told that we are to uplift fallen humanity, right?
Yes.
So the other would be humanity, right? In that respect. So if we're holding property, have a right to property based on the benefit for another, then the other person would be, of course, humanity. And then we would be those people holding it in trust. Is that fair? Now we have several different types of trust. We have statutory constructive trust, we have non-statutory, we have common law, we have all these different kinds of trust. Now, the other word that went into trust is estate.
Oh, there's a further definition, a fiduciary relation with respect to property.
Oh, okay. Fiduciary relationship. Money.
And trustees.
Well, all of those would come out of that definition, fiduciary relationship. So then, a trustee would just simply be a fiduciary in that respect. Right? So the fiduciary relationship basically is a trust. So in the trust we have 3 parties. We have the trust itself, and the trust is made up of, who knows?
Acceptance, offer, no, that's a contract.
Grantor,
Grantee.
right? We have the grantor, we have the grantee,
Beneficiary?
and the beneficiary. Right? Because the grantor grants
The
property.
grantee
trust.
and the beneficiary.
Are the same?
Sure.
Yeah, because we have.
Am I granting the trust or am I granting my beneficiary?
Because usually grantor, usually the grantee is with a deed.
You would need a conveyance.
Right.
Estate
Conveyance.
devised or granted in confidence of devisee, grantee, convey. What does convey have to do? Is that one?
Given over, right?
Because the grantor has to convey the property to the grantee.
Right.
And that's done for the benefit of another party.
Mutual benefit.
But the grantee in this essence should be maybe trustee.
So we say trustee.
Right.
A body of trustees.
Because usually the grantee is one who
Is receiving it. The trustee receives.
but the trustee receive it and hold the shit for someone else.
Holding it for the benefit of the beneficiary.
Right, but usually the grantee is like in the deed. The original deed is like the grantor to the grantee. when you buy a house without the deed of trust.
Without the deed of trust.
But and so you're not holding it for someone else. It is my actual property.
True.
That's what we say when we say.
True. Okay, so
just a little clarity on grantee. That's all.
True. So we have basically a trust. A trust is created by 3 parts. You cannot have a true trust unless you have all these 3 parts filled out. 1, 2, 3. You have to have each party. Okay. Sometimes one person can be any 2, but one person cannot be all 3. Okay. So I can be the grantor, and I can decide to put my house in a trust for the benefit of my children, and I can behave as a trustee in that trust, but I cannot be the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary. Right? I can put my house in a third-party trust for my own benefit. Okay? But I cannot be all 3. I can be the trust. This is even stickier, but I can be these 2 things too. Even though there's questions about
that's right.
They become questions.
That's right.
Right? But people have done it. That's all.
Can I add something?
Yes, sir.
So I know you just gave the legal definition, and I just wanted to add the spiritual, metaphysical definition to what a trust is.
Indeed.
So going into the 7th commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery.
Okay.
And adultery is being false to a trust. To be false to a trust, to betray a trust or truth, is to betray God. Which really means to leave God, truth, and life for idols, lies, and death. To behold less than perfection is adultery. To attribute qualities of good to material or mental concepts is also adultery. And there is no one and no thing outside your own consciousness. Loyalty to a trust or truth has nothing to do with human relationships. It has to do solely with beholding perfection as perfection, with seeing wholeness, completeness, and harmony as the truth of being.
Indeed. So that goes back to Meme, Aleph, Nun.
Trust is the truth.
Right. You go right back to that same concept, or as many as I was first taught, the mind. So if you lose trust, you lost your mind.
And the reason I wanted to add that was just so that as we continue to develop, we can look at both sides and look at the spiritual first. And then when we're dealing with the material, which is the legal, that's when we're dealing with pieces like in a monopoly piece is dead if you're talking legal. Right. We need to be lawful, and then we can understand how to manipulate the legal, the material, and all that.
Indeed. So that was important. Lawful and legal, right? Legality is dead. Legality is law that's geared toward people who are considered to be dead in law. Okay? So, as we do this, and I'm glad you said that, as we do this, it becomes very important for as we move as a body of law and we create our own laws, that our laws are living. Right? I was taught years ago that this means loving a law's wisdom.
Could you go back over that mean part once again? Because I missed that recording. I was sleeping. Yeah.
Oh.
Man and mean.
Man and
how you
mean.
broke it down, right? Just for the, kind of. My bad. That's right.
All right. So you have meme is water. All right. That's represented in Hebrew by the letter meme. Now this is my Hebrew shorthand, so it doesn't look like it might look. But meme is water, right? Or wisdom, or this represents the mother. Mother is meme, right? Aleph is seen as the father, right? And that's represented through the ox. Get a little bit more, right?
That's right.
Nun is the child, or the culmination of these two energies. Okay? And then the other, what else I said about noon? Noon is also the expanse of space. Right? We go into the Medu Neter, we go beyond the Hebrew tradition. Noon, we'll learn that Noon is where everybody came from the waters of Nu. Right?
Right.
Which is connected to that Noon. So,
Noah, right?
right. So
That's
the
right.
child, the father, or the child would be the parent of the mother and father, because we would not have water, we would not have the spark, the spiritual spark without it coming from the blackness of Noon. What was the other thing I said?
No. Protect them.
Did I really say it? Noon, right. Noon, right? Noon saved us from me. Right? Or in the Bible we taught that Nu, right? Because remember we get the English version of the Hebrew word Nu. And we learn in Arabic that it says Nu. Right? The whole chapter in the Quran called Nu. It's all about this guy, Noah. Right? And Noah was saving people from water, which is the symbol for Nu in Medu Neter. Very interesting.
So new, what about new?
Nu, Nuet, Nunet, and Nun. They're all different, in different periods of time in ancient quote-unquote Egypt. There were different deifications. So the most famous that we know of Nun is this. Woman with the light body, standing on top of the man. Right? Y'all remember that image?
No.
Check my stick figures. And then you have then you have Shu in the center, separating them. So you have space, air, and earth. Same concept as man. Mim Aleph Nun.
Mim Aleph Nun. Man.
Right.
New man, beginning man, old man,
Turn it.
dark man.
Oh,
Fresh man.
shall I erase it?
No, it's good. It was going to fall. I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Neo man.
Okay. So the trust, and now, okay. Who has a vehicle?
A vehicle for what? Like driving?
Who has a conveyance? A vehicle. Who drives around a vehicle?
I do.
Where's your vehicle registered?
The district of Columbia.
And what is it registered to?
Me?
It's registered to you, or you're
To
given
me.
title?
It's registered to me. No, it's registered to the district.
District of Columbia. So what is it being? So what entity? What entity is holding your vehicle, or holding the title to your vehicle? Corporation or a corporate trust, right? Trust, right? And what do we call those? If you don't live in the District of Columbia, what do we call those trusts?
Foreign.
No, if you don't live in the District of Columbia, you live in any of the state.
Oh, see.
So when a trust gets land, what do we call it?
When it gets what?
When a trust has land, what do we call it?
Estate.
In the state, right?
An estate.
State.
What's the difference?
State and state.
One is money.
One is physical or tangible, one is
I
not.
heard it. I heard the trick question. What's the difference between an estate and a state? Same thing. Same thing. I just like tricking you. So I'm gonna have you living in my estate, and I'm not gonna tell you when it's an estate, because I don't want you to know it's a trust, because then you might think you have rights. So I'm gonna call it a state. Take the E out. Wall Street, what's E represent?
All states are
Just for this moment, to answer the question, what came to me was that the vowels, once again, is what brings the words to life. So the E could be an A, it could be a U, however you
It could be
want.
life.
Yeah, so it brings whatever's after it to life.
Right. So we
And
have
we thinking that it's real, but it's an illusion.
Right.
Like you
Life.
pointed out.
in the state, death in the state, or E, as in E equals MC squared, right? E is what? Energy. Take the energy out of the state, and I get a state. I got a whole bunch of dead people giving me all their energy. So
It's too much, man.
that's too heavy. But
Yes, sir. I'm glad I'm recording now.
so now we have this trust.
I was slipping earlier.
We have this trust. We're gonna move on, right? We got this trust, right? From this trust, we want to create an E state, right? In that E state, we will communicate to other states that we are a nation
state.
estate. Every estate has its own laws, has its own rules. Michael Jackson's estate has rules. Right?
Right.
Elvis's estate has rules. That's why Elvis's daughter ain't getting no money when she married Michael Jackson.
Because he don't like them.
I take from them, I don't give to them. But that leads us into this conversation about property, securing property, protecting property. How is it done through this aspect of trust and understanding trust law? Just for a simple, we want to understand that our protection is in this trust. Our state is formed in this trust, right? History lesson. What was the United States before it was the United States?
Our land.
Before the United States, it was the Roman Empire. You talking about a corporation?
Corporation.
Virginia,
Oh.
Maryland.
Sorry, I know a guy named Dutch that spells his name with 2 T's and always confuses me. Virginia Dutch
Trading
Company.
company. Trading.
Trading company. This was what it was before it was a colony, right? Because each state or estate got a charter from the King of England, right? Through this company, or was it the Dutch Indian and something else? But this is the trust that founded the United States. This is where we get our corporate government from. Still on the records, the Virginia Dutch Trading Company. This is where you get Virginia, Jamestown, Mayflower landed in Plymouth. We didn't land on Plymouth. But that was all. That was the Virginia Dutch Trading Company, right? So there was this there's never been really organic, once it rinsed out of our hands, so 1787, we went back to the Virginia Dutch Trading Company. I may have the date misconstrued, 1797. But anyway, so when we talk about trust, and we talk about trust for the purposes of nationality, then what this trust will create is the basis for our holdings. And when it's held in one estate, then we can say, I'm a member of this estate. I'm part of this state. And I can move on from this state. So it becomes an important conversation of how do we get from a trust named I am it to nationality.
Trust.
State. Right? You gotta travel. If I want to travel to North Carolina, I have to travel through a state of Virginia.
You have to travel the line, right?
Right. So now we go into nationality, nation, and birthrights. Right? That was the next one on the thing, right?
I guess.
You got the pictures.
Yeah. Camera on now.
All right. So we want to start with what is a nation? We got some words that's associated with nation. Every Christmas, what they give you? In front of every church, every Christmas, what's in front of the church? Nativity scene. Right? What does that have to do with anything? Why are we talking about birth? Nativity is birth. Nation, nativity, and birthright or connote or denote the same thing. Birth. Where were you born? Or birthplace, and your connection to that birthplace. To that birthplace. If my parents were born in Ghana and I was born here, what's my nationality?
Well,
America.
You're here.
even if you're born here, if you're from Ghana, you're trained to say you're from Ghana. You don't say you're born
Right.
in America.
Well, let's deal with law.
Okay, so
For
you're
real.
American.
For real, you're American.
Yeah. Right. So then we have this term, Native American. What is that? What is a Native American?
Foreigner in the United States.
Yeah, somebody who's born in America. So could you be Irish and be a Native American? Right. Can you be Scottish and be a Native American? Can you be Zulu and be a Native American? Yeah. So when you look at the Native Americans, what are they?
Everybody.
Some white folks with feathers.
Eagle feathers now. Define the feathers now.
Right. So then, if I want to talk about my nationality, right? If I want to talk about my nationality, I would have to talk about where I was born, right? That would be the first thing. So I couldn't say that my nationality, or could I? Could I say that my nationality was somewhere other than America? Could I say I really like China? I want to get down with China. I'm changing my nationality. Can you change your nationality?
Yes.
Is that what happens when people come
You
here
can
and
denounce the
become American?
nationality.
Could you get nationalized for real, or is it just naturalization?
Okay, that's two different.
Changing of the nature, right? Then my child, I mean, I'm not telling you how it could be used, I'm just telling you that, yeah, people will tell you, right? You can be nationalized. You can change your nation.
That's really just
Yeah, you can do that.
naturalizing.
Right.
A lot of rich people do.
That's why it's called.
They say that.
That's
They-
why it's called the Bureau
right.
of Naturalization.
Right. They say that's what they're doing, but is that what they're doing?
No.
No, legally you can do that.
Right. Legally, we're dead. I can walk through a wall, I'm dead.
I have.
I'm a zombie, I can eat your brains. It's cool.
No, it's gonna be red today, right?
Right.
That's legal.
Yeah,
It's
that's
lawfully.
can I lawfully change my nationality?
Well, description
not
of
in this
nation is
context.
a large
No.
body of people associated with a particular territory that are sufficiently conscious of its unity to seek or to possess a government, particularly its own.
Right. So, whom does that fit? Because do you need a government to have a nationality?
Nope.
Okay, that's dictionary.com. I will admit
Right.
that.
That's dictionary.com is cool. Listen. I don't shut down any dictionary because you can lie about something and still tell the truth by what you don't say.
Well, the third definition says a member tribe of an American Indian Confederation. That's what they're also terming
Right.
as a nation, which I'm just
But
putting.
notice what they just said. Notice what they just said.
Of American Indian.
What didn't they say?
So that.
What didn't they say? They didn't say a group of Native Americans, right? Who saw gangs in New York?
Who saw it?
Nobody saw gangs in New York.
I saw
It wasn't Oscars, right? Gangs in New York. We had a battle between white boy from Ireland and white boy from Germany, and both of them said they was Native Americans, and they were fighting for the right of who was Native Americans, and you're not allowed. We're from the same country. right? My lineage comes from the same place as your lineage, but I was here one generation before you, so I'm going to fight you for the right of my Native American status, right? So, nativity, native, nation, nationality, and birthright. Now, what is a birthright? What is your right based upon where you were born? So if I'm France, and I was born in France, I have rights, power, based on that landmass that I may not be able to exercise in South America,
That's right.
but I can exercise them on my land,
Yeah.
right? Now we go back, when we talk about birthrights, we go back to the feudal period, right? Then we go back to that estate word, and those estates would become, right? We had lords, so I had a big kingdom. I was the king, right? And then I have several vassals, and I split my empire up into all these different vassals, right? And each of them is a lord in each of those different territories, right? And then there's peasants that live on that land that they're not considered, even if they were born there, they don't have nationality on this vassal land because this land belongs to the king, so land belongs to the lord through the king, right? But that lord's child has rights because the lord owns the land. He was deeded that land through a lordal title from the king, because only the king can give you a lordal title, right? Because it's always going to be the king's land. He passes it on to his people. That's why you got to pay him, right? So if I was a child of the king or a descendant of the king, then I have right to all of this. But if I'm a peasant, I ain't got right to none of it.
Yeah, just like.
Dead energy. I'm just there to work. My children will be born to work. They will be there to work, right? So when we talk about birthright, we're talking about based upon my lineage and the status that those descendants had, my ancestors had, on this land that they call America, right? Or right? So then, what would be the nationality to give us birthrights on this landmass? Would it be Irish American? Right? Can't be Irish American. But there was some black Irish.
Yeah, there was.
We ain't there. Right. They still in Ireland. So what birth, what nation, national connection, what landmass connects me to my rights on this landmass? Right? Let's talk about history. So we say we got this land here. We said that my lands came over to South America and they became the Olmecs. And then the Olmecs traveled up Central America into the South Americas, and they became the Amaru, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Cherokee, all came from there. And then they said, who else? Right, then they said some folks came from China, and they came over into California and started mixing with those people. So you had the Nakis mixing with the niggas, and then
Niggas? What's that?
Nakis and the niggas.
What's niggas?
I mean, we learned it's a bad word, and white folks made it into a bad word, but we have this word here, I don't know, it's a sidebar conversation. Naki, right? Right? So the word, both begins with na, right? But you have Naki, right? You got Negus, and you got Negas, right? Snake, king. Serpent king.
Nega, that's one too, yeah.
Nega, right, Negas. Serpent king. Naki is a dragon. Negus in Hebrew is serpent.
Okay.
Right?
Negro.
Right.
Negro.
So all these different classifications of nigga, basically, right, in its ancient context, right, converged on this landmass, right? So, peoples of China, black peoples of China, black peoples of Africa, black peoples of South America and Australia, all converged on this landmass, and I'm going to try to draw it. It's going to look funny, but it kind of looks like this. Converged on this landmass and made up of our ancestors, and each one of us has at least an ancestor that comes from that background. Right? Yes?
Please pardon me, but I would like to read this.
Your pardon.
Nation refers to a large group of people who share the common language, culture, ethnicity, descent, or history. Nation can refer to a people, race, or tribe, those having the same descent, language, and history. The Encyclopedia Dictionary defines nation as a community of people composed of one or more nationalities with its own territory and government, and also as a tribe or federation of tribes. As in the American Indians, nations carry varying meanings, and the connotation of the term has changed over time. The concept of nation is related to ethnic community or ethnic, whatever.
Right. So ethnicity. What is ethnicity?
An ethnic community shares a common myth or origins and descents, a common history, elements of distinctive culture, a common territorial association, and a sense of group solidarity. A nation is, by comparison, much more impersonal, abstract, and overtly political. So I'll stop there, but anyway.
Okay. So we have ethnicity, we have race, and we have descent. We have community and federation. Right? All terms deal with collective unity. Right? But what is an ethnicity?
Like people staying together.
People
Folks
who
that
might
are
look alike?
similar in characteristics or descendants of each other.
Right. Similarities. Right. But would a Cuban and a Puerto Rican have the same ethnicity? Why not?
They're from two different land masses, and they have different.
Are they?
I don't know where they are. You said Cuban and what?
Right. Right. They're not from one land. They're not from a different landmass. Okay, I'll do this. Would a Mexican and a Cuban and a Puerto Rican have the same ethnicity?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they're all considered Latinos.
Right. They're all considered Latino. Do you know who Latino is? Who knows who Latino is? Who Latino is?
It starts with the word Latin, so it has something to do with.
So it's a son of Zeus. Latinos is a son of Zeus. He's a demigod. Why they name Moors who speak Spanish Latinos? Interesting. But Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Mexico are all in the same landmass with California, New York, Florida, all of that, Boston, is all the same landmass, right? North America, or America, is consistent of that pink, that green, that purple, that yellow, and all those little dots all around it. So someone from Hawaii, well, Hawaii's a little bit far. I think Hawaiians are considered Asians, right? But they still is. But this is the same landmass. So if they are the same construct, right? So all of us are the same construct. A Mexican is Solo Mayan or Moor mixed with a European who speaks Spanish, right? A Puerto Rican is an Arawak or Moor mixed with a European who speaks Spanish. Cubans are Moors mixed with Europeans who speak Spanish, right? We are Moors mixed with Europeans who speak English. That's it. A European is a Moor mixed with a Viking who speaks English. So it is. I mean, you know, we talk about going back into that. So we talk about ethnicity. Is ethnicity and race different? How many races are there? One race?
Human race.
Human race. How many participants are in the human race? Who's winning? Who's tired? Who needs some water? Right? So we got race and ethnicity. Are race and ethnicity similar?
Yes.
Can you have the same ethnicity and be of a different race?
No.
Somebody better ask Barry that. Can you have the same race and be different ethnicities?
I don't think so.
Is race based on history, geographics, or politics?
I think it's politics. It's our
I mean, what is race?
That's some shit white folks made up.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's a competition.
Based on politics.
It's a competition.
Based on politics.
Who's ever heard of, and this is kind of important, we got to go into some of this history so we can get ourselves together, right? But Bacon's Rebellion. Who ever heard of Bacon's Rebellion?
The pig.
What about that kind of bacon? Bacon's Rebellion? Because our understanding of history in this country is going to affect our politics in this country, is going to affect our communication of law or jurisdiction in this country. So, absolutely. So Bacon's Rebellion. Prior to Bacon's Rebellion, Indians were black people, white people were red people, and there were no white people prior to Bacon's Rebellion. Okay? Bacon's Rebellion is when the red slaves and the black slaves got together against the slave masters who were red and black. Okay? Once that happened, the ruling class, the rich red and black people, said, we can't have this. So we have to create a situation where we create a new status. White.
Black.
And the lowest of the whites will be higher than the highest of the black. Right? And this is how we get this idea of race. Us the race. Those are your two races. Those are your two participants in one race, the human race. Right? These are the people who are racing against each other. There's one people who is kind of just walking down the street. And other people is running past them, knocking their books down. They're going to get there in time. But so now we got ethnicity. So I guess with that being said, to answer the question, one can be of the same ethnicity and be of a different race.
Okay, so you're saying red Indians and some other Indians, you just...
No, I'm saying that white people were considered to be redneck.
Oh.
We were black.
And we were black.
Then they became black.
And then they said, we gonna be white. Look, if we gonna say like this, right? We can find black people on the planet Earth, right? We can go on to several different islands and different continents and find black people, not brown. We're more red on this landmass. Even the darkest of us have red undertone, right? But we can go to certain places in India and certain places in Africa and find people that ain't got that red undertone. They look like boots. They black, right?
Smack black.
Where the white people at?
Black.
Where the white people at? Where are the white people at? There's some people walking around that's my complexion and say they white.
Well, white is a status. It's not a color. It's actually a status.
Right. So white has always been. Actually, we can go this kind of point. Maybe some double it, right? White and black both mean the same thing.
Black.
Right. Got blackin', Blake. Right? Right? Blackin', Blake. Right? Blakin'. Right? All of these things mean the same thing, right? But then they denote when I burn something, right? We're talking about blackin' and Blake and white and black all come from lighting something on fire and carbon. So if I burn a piece of wood and I look at it, what is it?
It's black and white.
It's black, but what else? What's the quality of the blackness?
Ash.
Ash, but what's the quality of it? If I burn a piece of wood before it becomes completely
Charcoal.
ash, that char, what about the char would make someone say, this is white?
The ash.
The ash, but what else? What else is so important that it had a spiritual connotation to it?
The smoke.
It's shiny and black. Right? If you burn something, you think about it. Look, we burn the wood in the thing, right? It becomes shiny. It's black and shiny. Right? And then eventually...
So it reflects the sky, and the sky makes it look white.
Well, no, it continues to keep going, and it becomes... Because remember, we get blagging, and bleach, and bleak. Right? And bleak, and bleach, and all of those things come from there. Blanco, all of those things come from here. So the word black, right, gets to Latin and becomes blanco, or becomes blank. But if we say something is blank, it's usually not a black mark through it. Because if I'm reading some text and there's a black mark through it, I'm going to say something was covered up. If there's a white line there, I'm going to say it's blank. Right? If I got a white piece of paper, it's a blank piece of paper. I'm not going to get this white sheet of paper and say it's a black piece of paper, right? I'm saying blank. Blanco. White. Right? All of it means the same thing. So, words sound power. We playing with your heads. There's no such thing as, this is a spiritual status more so than anything else. Black and white are all spiritual statuses. They have nothing to do with anyone's ethnicity. It's in the spiritual realm. What color is this? If I see this as being black, what is it actually? No. What color is my shirt? Difficult. What color are my pants?
Green.
Green, right? In actuality, my pants are everything but green. That's why they look green to you. Because remember, what does light do? Light bounces, reflects. So this pen is blue because it's actually writing in a substance. The chemical substance reflects the light of everything but blue, so you see blue.
So our eyes are seeing what the void is? I mean, we're detecting what's...
Our eyes see what's missing, and that's why our consciousness, that's why we're in the position that we're in, because we can never see how things fit together. We see how they separate. Here's what our eyes do. Let there be light, the birth of the devil. We gotta get there. We gotta get there because we have to get to a certain understanding, because then when you get into court and somebody asks you, what's your nationality? And you say, I'm black, and they're looking at you like, no, you're stupid.
What did you just say? I know.
Right. When you go amongst the community, and now you have to separate yourself based on your understanding. Right? Because we all look the same. So any one of us can walk out the room and you say, no, you're a Hebrew Israelite. Right? What makes you different? What makes you different? I don't have a kufi on. I don't have the Star of David on me. Right? But I can take those things over to somebody else and they can be there. So what separates you from anything else? What separates you? Because I'm a Moor and you'll never see me with a fez on. Most of the time, the fez that I have is gold and black with a gold tassel, and people say I'm the Wahabi. And I've only read 4 Malachi York books in my life. Right? So what separates us? Our understanding. But our understanding. How do we understand? How do we break things down? How do I communicate with the universe and with my immediate environment based on my understanding? And that goes back to nationality, right? Everybody, if you think about it, right? If we deleted modern technology, cell phones, telephones, and I went to India, I would know I'm in India, and I would know I'm speaking to an Indian based on the way they think, right? I would know I'm speaking to a Hebrew based on what they say, based on how their understanding is. So when we talk about nationality, we got to get into all those things that have been jumbled together in the conscious community right? And then say, no, this is different. This isn't this. No, we're African. We're not this, and we're not Moors, and we're not this. And then you say, well, what is a Moor? Well, Moors lived in North Africa, right? I'm not this. I'm an Indian. Well, where the Indians come from? You know, this is where we have to go with it. So, I mean, we talk about birthright and our status and our nationality in our nation, right? We learn that you don't have to have the same ethnicity to be a nation. You don't have nationality. It's more about the landmass, the designation, and being able to designate our own places and say that our nationality is based upon the designation of our ancestral land, right? So if you walk up to a Cherokee and Cherokee tells you that he's from North Carolina, he's an American citizen.
But if he says he's from some specific other territory, isn't that another way to...
Well, what a lot of them are doing now is they'll start giving you this.
Oh yeah, coordinates.
They give you a land designation. They give, I'm on the 31st parallel. You know what I mean?
Well, isn't that where we said we would put our coordinates?
Right, well, we're on the 30, I believe DC is on the 34th parallel. Right, when you do the charts, it's the 34th, right? 37. Oh, it's off with these numbers, but that's why we behave.
Well, you was in the 30s.
I was in the 30s. I didn't say 17. But, you know, this is something, right, when we talk about, we all want to learn the metes and bounds of our location. That's important at law. We want to learn the metes and bounds of our location. So if somebody starts saying, where do you live? Give me some numbers. Then you say, would you like to know where I receive mail? Right? But this is where I live at. Right? Because it becomes confusing. I told a police officer I live in my body once and he almost knocked my body out. So we want to, you know, I'm not saying it's wrong. You know what I mean? I'm not ever going to knock any of my elders or my brothers and my sisters and say that their understanding is wrong. I'm just saying, let's be practical about this. You know, let's be practical about this. You know what somebody's asking you. You know why they're asking you. If you're God, you should know why somebody's asking you. You got common sense. So let's not play games with people. What's my nationality? There's a few things. There's terms that I'm in agreements with when people say I can rock with Moorish American. Right? That's what I've learned that I was since I was learned how to talk. And I knew what a nationality was. I was told to tell people that I was Moorish American. That's a very interesting name, Jahi. Where'd you get it? I'm Moorish American. Now, we have the people in the community now who are referring to themselves as, what kind of American are you? I'm an American American. Said, I'm an American American. Right? You might be German American. I'm American American.
That's why.
Right? You might be French or Irish American. I'm American American. Everybody came from here.
Since the categories differ not so much from one another, but more by degrees of difference from a common perception of American society, definitions of ethnic groups are limited to certain categories and are distributed as a common knowledge in the United States, which came about in the 1950s. An ethnic category is not applied to common Americans because ethnic is a category specifically placed on groups that are perceived to differ from or the supposed norm.
Common American. What is a common American?
That American person you said?
No, because those people are Aboriginal people. What is a common American? What does that denote? No, why White people say, I'm American. Most of the time you have what you call those people, not the Japs, those are the Jewish American princesses. What do you call it? Episcopal Protestant white male. Right? A Protestant white male considers himself and his family common American.
Common American is not categorized as an ethnic group.
Right.
This is just the next sentence.
Right. They're not categorized as an ethnic group because they're white. Right? So when you have an ethnic group, what do they say?
Says people placed
got a little spice, got a little color, right?
Do not control the dominant system that defines the content of their own culture. Instead, they're subjected to a prescribed and widely accepted description of their own being in American society.
Right. Who watches Star Trek? Who's familiar with Borg?
It's a big black one.
No, the Borg. The Borg were the group of people.
The animals.
No, they were everybody. The Borg could have been anybody. The Borg, this was what the Borg was.
Oh, that's the one that is sort of
this is what the Borg was. This is what the Borg actually was. A Kaaba in space. Big, giant, black, square stone in space. That was the Borg. And what the Borg did was went from planet to planet and collected people. And they became part of the collective.
But they look like...
Yeah, they had. So our rights are derived from our ancestors and what our ancestors was doing on this landmass. So if I can walk around this country and see monuments that my ancestors built, that gives me power here. Not only just political power, but spiritual power. And our political power is derived from our spiritual power. Why is it that the collective has political power in this country? Walk around 16th Street, you'll see.
Straight down.
Because they are wielding the modern day signs. They have power because they use our symbols. They use our symbols.
And our signs.
They use our signs. They use our symbols all over the place. Everywhere. I have a pair of North Face slippers that somebody gave me, and I was looking at them the other day, right? And North Face has a symbol like this. Something like that, right? And on the sole of my shoes, they took the North Face symbol and went like this. And made a swastika with the symbol. Right. Symbols. This is the reason why, because along their center grid on 16th Street, they have every single ancient symbol running down the street. You go into the Wilson building, and you look around the Wilson building, they got ancient symbols all over there. Matter of fact, outside of Mendelssohn's old office is a picture of two Moors shaking hands walking into the building.
See, we don't know who that is. Most of us don't know who that is.
This is our birthright.
That's right. But we don't know.
Well, so I haven't gotten back on it.
Our birthright is our spiritual power. Or Tierra de Tierra, is what they call it in Metal Measure. The spiritual power is derived from these symbols. What is this? The pineal gland. What is this? The hypothalamus, the pineal, and the pituitary. You know? What's this? The sun spinning. You ask the accountant what this is. The entry into the world. Stargate. Now, walk around DC. Tell me how many swirls you see.
Circles all over.
Right? Portals.
Yeah.
Portals. What's this? Red Cross. Astrology. And I put it everywhere. So now we have to, part of our national, our birthright has to be part of it is recapturing these symbols.
Yes.
Right? So then we have a flag that's a recapturing of these symbols. We'll take the symbols you took from us and we'll use them for our benefit. Right? This is our political power. This is our birthright.
Yeah.
This is where we get our birthright from. This is where our power comes from, because when I go into Southeast and I walk into Berry Farms, I'm standing on top of a mound. Okay? Frederick Douglass's house is on top of a mound.
Yeah.
You know? And this is where I grew up, which is on 16th Street South. W and 16th. This is where our power comes from, politically. Right? Our birthright comes from our connection to our ancestors' great work.
So, seems as though our task is to tie this information, what you just said,
back into the book.
right?
That's for somebody else.
Actually, this is the book, and we just got to get it in written form and have
Right.
the verse, you know, the audio as well as the visual going hand in hand. So this is, you know, 'cause I got most of it. So,
So what was it?
So I would say that you guys, we should also indicate what we use as our definitions of the words that we use. So perhaps we can come up with a glossary of some sort, so that we can incorporate what we have collectively determined as a common knowledge.
Right.
There's a
Yeah,
book.
Yeah,
There's a
how
book
can we all
for-
participate in the say, development of this manual?
Oh man, that's what I was hoping was gonna happen today, but I guess it just went with my name off and rambling.
What's the grand square that you were talking about?
Cross.
Because for the last 2 years, astrologically, it's been a grand square. It's been pretty tight, and the players can't seem to break out of it. But
Yeah, they keep on finding a way to
Right.
right back into it, right?
but Mars is retrograde right now, and in middle of May, it's going to go direct. That's going to break that grand square up and turn into a T-square. So that might be why we haven't started yet, because
We still got
the energy, the Mars energy to go forward, to take the initiative to get a relationship like you want it, is not ready.
It's still circular.
Yeah.
So that gives us some time to stir the pot and
Not
get
too
our
long. Middle of May.
May.
Little
That's
May.
2 weeks. So
May
maybe that's
19th.
when we should come back.
Right. We can read.
We can exchange emails.
Yeah.
Isn't that a document that you have sent to us? The basics. The
Yeah, I can
documents?
send it again. Again, I'll give you another disclaimer. My computers are all down, and this is my computer and my communication center. Hopefully, I don't drop it or break it.
But see, what's going to happen too is Mars is going to go retrograde.
But still, I want to know how we
In
all
May.
participate.
Excuse me, Mercury.
I think that maybe in 2 weeks we should come back.
Which is communication.
So we still going to have
If we
to
work off of,
Forge through
if
it.
anything,
Very
if we're just
detailed,
operating off
focused.
of this
There's
outline.
right. Tell you what.
And fleshing out the outline, maybe if somebody could come up with a few paragraphs, like I'm not a great writer, that's why I'm up here running my mouth. But we can come up with outline of the trust. What is IMN? What is nationality? What is a nation? What is birthright? Those are definitions that can be incorporated if we get into that off of that. You know what I mean?
Are we including some of our 21st century? I think there was some information that went out last
My
week.
vision for the 21st century.
Right.
Yes, that needs to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Like I know that in terms of organizations, when I was a young man, I joined the Nation of Gods and Earths. And in Nation of Gods and Earths, I was given, before I got the 120 lessons, I was given who are we? What do we do? Who is our founder? Right? And I had to learn everything about Clarence 13X. Right? I had to learn everything about what the program was. What is is it that this organization stands for? I had to learn, then I started learning the dogma or the ideology after that. I think that becomes important. Just that basic fleshing out of what is it that we're trying to do based on a vision, based on a sustainable community. I got all metaphysics because that's where my mind goes, into space. But please, somebody reel it back down and put it back into the material world. Like we need to really go into sustainability based on having the attitude of sustainability. I think that's something that should be just laid out in the manual. What is the attitude of sustainability? Meaning that if I have a sustainable attitude, I'm not trying to go dollar for dollar with white folks. You know what I mean? If I need a chair and I drive down the street and I see a perfectly good chair sitting on the side of the road, I'm not going to drive past that chair to Walmart and buy a chair from the Waltons. You know what I mean? That's a sustainable attitude. We want to do hydroponic garden. What's the first step? Go find some buckets. That's a sustainable attitude. You know what I mean? I think that should be, I think if we want to foster that attitude in groups in times to come, then that has to be something that's laid down for the beginning. So we want to think about what is it that we want people to, everybody to be on the same page about. Because
what we just saw.
Huh?
What we just saw.
But yeah, I mean,
so it's just a matter of, again, conveying what we just saw here into something that people can just come in at any given moment to, oh, okay, we see now what's happening. And in short, if this video, if I would have got everything, this probably would have been it right here. Or just, like you say, even reviewing it, because I'm gonna send it out to us privately, because I'm gonna be able to put on YouTube only a private link just for us. And even just if we reviewed it enough times to say, oh, let me add something to what's already here.
Right.
This is the foundation. I think this is the foundation of what we all feel and realize that we can do as I Am It. So, and whether that be, like I say, for people, like I say, once it's uploaded and you got a chance to look at it, as so led, just feel free to add what you think can go with it, and we either communicate that between now and our next meeting, or our next meeting we definitely have something going on that say this want to add to what we got going on.
Are we having a conference call too?
Yeah, I mean, I would.
Should we have a conference?
Well, yeah, that's.
Come back and re-adjourn, because I mean. The points of matter on the table right now is still trust. Now it's been revised. Is that going out? Is it revised?
We're waiting for Rose.
Okay, so those are. I mean, we don't have to. I mean, we can essentially say that in 2 weeks after Mars goes direct and that energy is loosened back up, we could meet and we probably get a lot further than meeting now with the communication being kind of distorted. What do you think?
All right, so
let's just give everybody a 2 week.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks. Yeah, we got a 2 week break. Like that.
Okay, all right.
Just to assimilate this information that we just got, like I said, I'm gonna get it out so people can view.
So come back with an opinion, or come back with email our updates. What are you expecting as a result?
A round table, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should sit down like this. But I kind of envision this. I kind of envision having the ability to be able to put this on paper right there.
We tried that with the business statement, right?
Right, and it's, I mean, my difficulty, my challenge is that I have nowhere that I can type right now except for on my phone, and it becomes a challenge for me to sit down and mess with that.
And my thing is just time, because I attempted something here. You saw the status and nationality. But it was similar to what you was doing today, just kind of going through and breaking everything down as we go. But I didn't have time to even put down all the stuff that I want to, just because of time.
We can springboard off of that and start with status and nationality. I guess I can find a way to write. Maybe I can sit down and I can write I Am It. What is I Am It? I can write that. I can take that piece.
Yeah, write it down
and give us some stuff here.
Yeah, I'll write it down.
You can't type, right? Yeah. But the thing is, if we're getting back to the original source of being natural, time when we first were having the Spirit Speaks meetings, the energy that I was feeling was that for where we're going and our intentions is causing us to be in the situations that we're in now to actually have the community of building this together, opposed to like, let me get my idea and do this myself. It keeps bringing us back together so we can get our communication as a body of individuals who are present and people who are, coming into this. And then if you're writing with your pencil, that's more spelling than anything else.
Right.
Like you're writing a spell because it's you and your spirit going into it.
Right. Okay. So I guess I can take that. I can take.
And then once you get that,
what
you
is
type it
I
up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Ashep, you want to grab nationality?
All right.
Nationality, nation, and birthright. Who wants to take accountability?
I'll take that.
I'll work with you on that also.
Okay.
I'll work with you on accountability. We want to put these assignments on the board?
Yeah.
So
Let's do this.
let's
do this.
You got accountability?
No, she got it. She has the next one is being called.
Okay, so number
I
one.
already did the vision statement already.
It's an ongoing thing.
What is it? Alright.
It's living.
What's that vision? You the journalist.
It's multi-talent.
Job. Status, nationality. And birthright. Ashep. We got accountability.
Right.
Is that Sister Samaya?
Tiff.
Tiff.
And the Shep.
Ability. Tiff. Ashep.
Okay, put down in BC autonomy and
Autonomy and sovereignty.
sovereignty. Yeah.
Okay.
What else we got?
Nation and ethnicity. We got nation up there already.
Yeah, we got nation and birthright. What was that other topics we had? Sustainability, trust. Who wants to do trust? Trust and trust law, state and a state.
Rosie.
Rose.
Nah, don't volunteer nobody.
I heard the name, but I ain't hear the voice that goes
That's
with
right.
the name.
That's right.
That was spiritual.
You can put that job.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I'm in the spirit. We connecting.
Alright, trust, state, 6.
So trust is also state and a state, right?
Right.
Okay.
Trust, state, what was the other one we had?
We got sustainability.
Sustainability.
Elocution.
The word man.
Hey.
Just volunteering, brothers. It's like military. Alright, what was the other one? We got 12 joints.
You need some more women in there. Oh, no, we only got one lady.
There's no sex in the spirit now. Come on now.
We all accounted for.
We got sustainability, we got nation, side of autonomy, trust and state, sustainability, it was.
We got Precious, Sheila, Darlene.
There we go.
Oh yeah, general.
Etymology, Precious.
General, what was that? General standards and practices. I think that's something we all have to do together.
No, I think that's Sheila and Darlene. You have that.
All right. There you go. Colorful.
That's right, colorful.
There you go.
With the K, colorful with the K.
Oh, colorful with the K.
Yes.
It's K-U.
No.
K-U.
It's K-A-L-A-F-U-L.
K-A-L-A-F-U.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that. All Alright, so we got general standards and practices.
That could
I
be
don't even know
pronounced
what you're talking about, general standards and practices of what?
Of the group. What she's supposed to be doing. Of everybody. You guys are right.
Roles and responsibilities.
You guys are right.
There it
Rules.
is, accountability.
To start you out, one of them, Reverend Dorita said, was everyone who is in some type of position within IMIT structure has to go through
The training.
right,
Yeah.
go through the curriculum.
Oh, I haven't been through it yet.
Oh,
But that's for those who, you know, who
How'd
wants to
you
be
do
a
that,
part of it.
Usher? Commerce. Who wants to do commerce? Who wants to talk about commerce? I guess you think it should be you.
So along those lines, you know what I'm saying? What are the kind of,
Who wants to do commerce?
that's in my eye, you know,
Oh yeah, commerce
kind of
is
thing.
part of nation, if nation is one of yours, right?
I would not admit.
You got Mr.
Oh, you're on, I am in, okay, so.
Yeah, commerce.
Chef, you wanna put
What
commerce
does the
on
second say?
it?
Status.
Status, nation, and a big bunch of squiggly lines that meant nationality and birthright.
Lewis for commerce.
He's in the grass man.
That's right, that's what Lewis is, right?
And I'm on his team, so that takes me out of.
No, that takes me out of.
We all share in this, in the grass.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Jump on the band.
I've been drilling holes in buckets for 2 weeks.
What's that last thing right there? That was
Democracy versus Republic. These are the ones that ain't got no
I'll take
commerce.
Democracy versus Republic.
Okay, and give commerce to Mr. Lewis over here.
I thought you were going to do anthropology, you was going to give
You
the
know what,
questions.
he knows a lot
Yeah, I'm
about
getting
that.
there. I'm getting there. I'm trying to read off the thing now. Cause I got that, so that helps me.
General standards, you moved that to number 7.
Yeah, I'm moving this stuff around.
Okay,
I was going off my mind.
birthright, is that off? That's
It's
off.
Versus
sovereignty. Is that what that says?
autonomy.
Yeah, sovereignty and autonomy.
Standing.
That's the one I
Standing
got.
law.
That's the one I got.
Standing in law. I think that would go with status also. Yes, status, standing at law, number 2. And it's right across from each other, so it lines up perfect, right?
So who's got Aboriginal?
David.
I'm just looking at, because it also says indigenous and black and African American.
No, I think they bringing out.
Yeah, we just expounded. We're just saying like, what's the difference? We got Aboriginal, so it'd be a conversation on what is the difference between saying that you're Aboriginal versus these other things that people may have been accustomed to using as terms. And then of course we have etymology, and that. And since the process, I think that's where the etymology part, that should be where the area of the glossary you were speaking of, where we would talk about words and how we give spirit to certain words. So bring life to dead words.
And that's
Through usage.
Wall Street, did you take 2 of them?
Yeah, Wall Street should work on that with Sister Precious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Etymology. You in Wall Street. You in Wall Street. You in Elocution.
Okay, so we still got comma.
Lewis and David.
Commerce, okay.
Okay.
Ex-relational.
Birthright, where's birthright?
Birthright is in this squiggly line right here. There's a B
Okay,
and there's little
nationality,
squigglies.
birthright, okay.
That's my shorthand. That's my old language called figure it out.
We can come up with our own
Status, national.
alphabet and language, and we sure could.
There's a book that I'm looking for, so it's called The Language Crystal. It's out of print, but I'm sure if we put our minds together, somebody can find it. Inside that book is The Language Crystal.
Language Crystal, you can find it on Amazon.
No, not on Amazon. Not that
As long as
easy.
there's no
So in this book,
Is it one of those secret, like, you know, how the, what is that, where the Pope is? What's that called?
Vatican.
The Vatican has hidden certain books of, you know.
well, that book is around. That book is around. We have to just,
There you go.
yeah, we're gonna find it. But it's it basically goes into all of the, you know, we have
New language. A, B, C, D. A, B, C,
Did
D,
you talk to me
F.
about
well, we talking about
I didn't hear you, your name that you know on the board right there.
I'll let you include me with yours.
Which one? Where you at?
Status, nationality,
Aboriginal, indigenous.
and accountability.
Shania, okay.
But in the book,
Right up under that, 2 and 3.
All the principles of the Phoenician, because that's where we have definitions of Phoenician. So it goes into the principles of like language, the vowels.
Nigga said something wrong.
That's who they were. They were Moors.
And once we get into that language system, then we'll be able to look at the literal definitions, we take it and make it our own, and then put it back into the literal.
True.
So we meet again on the 19th or around the 19th?
I guess so. 2 weeks is 19?
That's when Mars goes direct, right? The 19th?
Yeah, so
That's when it's the
5,
3 or 4 days afterwards.
19.
So what's the meeting day?
That's 3 weeks from now.
When will you be back?
What's the date? The date is 27th, right?
Yeah, so next Sunday is the 6th.
Oh.
Sunday after that's the 13th.
I thought next Sunday was
The
it.
Sunday
That is a
after
hell of a
that
day
is
for
the
you to
20th.
Wait a minute, is this calendar wrong?
And
Is this calendar wrong?
No.
so it's April. So the 4th.
Next
But
week.
this is May,
The
right?
4th, the 11th, and the 18th. The 4th,
The
11th.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, that's
Yeah, 'cause you,
So 2 weeks will be the 11th.
2 weeks at the 11th.
Yeah.
right.
So that also.
Mars
you
is
around,
still
right?
direct though, right?
So the
Keep
11th.
you around.
We're not gonna be friends.
We always gonna be friends.
16.
So this is what we're meeting in preparation, I guess.
But it would be the same thing. That's why we keep coming back to the same thing because it's that same energy.
The
Mars
11th is
not
also
direct
Mother's
yet.
Day. Oh, yes.
So, what do you mean?
11th.
That's
So
correct.
can't have it
So
on
then Mars turn go direct
18th.
until May 19th, and
Every
then
day?
you just said that
18th,
even
yeah.
after that it takes a few days. So if that's still accurate, then the 25th is the next
That was like,
Monday.
So we should meet the 25th instead of the,
The 18th.
we should meet the 25th, is that what you're saying?
The 18th.
Okay.
So 5/18 is way
5/18. So did everybody get their assignment?
Hold on, he's checking the
Did somebody else take a picture of the board? Because you know we always need a snapshot.
Yeah, go take a picture of that one.
Well, then he's gonna have to stop.
Yeah, I recorded most of it, but, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like you put that one up, we might want to put this one up.
Very good job on that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.